Thank you for joining me today. We're going to talk about our PHA software called PSMPro. So PSMPro is a complete suite for all your PHA techniques. As part of the software, there's a lot of different templates for different sort of PHA type activities. So we've got PHA templates, HAZOP templates, what if templates, checklist templates, as well as a few others. Now, all of these templates can be customized and adjusted to whatever your specific internal needs are. So you can make sort of a specific order to your PHA, specific items per your PHA, as well as customize the risk matrix. So we have templates, but they're fully customizable. Another thing you can do within PSMPro is audits. Because it's the same interface, it's just using different templates to carry out audits. You can do fault trees within the software. So if you're looking to work out the failure rate for some sort of safety system, maybe a SIL or a SIS system, you can carry out the calculation to work out the failure rate within your PHA. So you don't need another software for that. And for everything I've just mentioned, you can make PDF reports or Excel reports of your work product. So that will include all your PHA, all your nodes, as well as attendance lists, recommendations, and just general descriptions. And the other useful feature is you can do action tracking within the software. So you can, if you've got a recommendation from a particular deviation, you can send that action to one of our other softwares, and then it will send out automatic emails. I'll show it to you in a moment. So that's the software we're going to look at. So let's click around the software. So it's pretty much what you'd expect for a PHA software. It's very similar to Excel, but it's made to be easier than using Excel. When you're using Excel, there's a lot of insert a line here. Maybe you accidentally delete a line, it deletes things you don't want. This software remedies a lot of that. So in terms of navigation, I've got a demo file I've pre-made here where we're just carrying out sort of a standard PHA. So we're doing a deviation, a cause, consequence, safeguards, and then recommendations. And then after there, we've got sort of follow on from those recommendations. Now, the first sort of main thing I'll mention is how everything is auto numbered here. So in Excel, if I wanted to add another cause here, I'd have to insert a line, come up with a new number, so on. Within PSMPro, I can just go to line, add a cause, and it adds a new cause below. And now when I type in this box, so I'll put in new cause, it auto numbers it. And this numbering is sort of updatable and smart. So one thing I can do elsewhere in the software is reference back to this cause. So when I'm doing my LOPA, it will reference back to the specific deviation, the specific cause, the specific numbering as assigned by the system. I don't need to worry about any numbering or referencing. It will do that for me. And it's the same for everything else within the software. So if I want to add a consequence, I can just add a consequence and follow on from here. Okay. Now I mentioned about templates. So this is our template. If you have a company specific template, maybe instead of doing deviation, cause, consequence, you do deviation, cause, secondary cause. You can make your own templates for that. So if I made a new PHA, within here, I could build a new template. Now, the template itself isn't a file that you would have to share amongst yourselves and sort of, okay, I've made a new template, I'll share it with my colleagues. It lives upon our cloud. So let me bring down my menu here. So what I can do within here is I can, for example, if I selected this template, what I can do is I can configure it. So I can adjust whatever I need within the template. And like I said, instead of it being a file you share with your colleagues, it lives on our cloud, and then it gets shared with everyone on your license. So you wouldn't have to send a file to everyone. They would just have access when they open this menu here. They'd be able to go onto your company profile. Within here, there would be a new template, custom PHA template, or PHA template updated April 2025. So as part of that, I could reorder the columns, add new columns, add specific numbering structures, whatever you need. The other thing you might need to customize is your risk matrix. So it's fully customizable. So this is my current risk matrix. So for severity criteria, I currently have people impact, ENV, and regulatory. I could add a fourth one here. So I could say fourth severity criteria. And then that will appear within my severity rating once I click save. So now I can add those new severity criterias to my severity ranking. Same for likelihood, I can add another likelihood. And what I can do is I can change my risk matrix on the right here to whatever I need. So if I needed to change the color of my AA to pink, for example, I can change that. I can add as many rows as I need, as many columns as I need. Whatever your specific risk matrix is, you can add that as part of your template. Some of the other features I mentioned are this will play into the reporting, which I can show you in a minute. When you're carrying out PHAs, an important element of it sometimes is keeping track of who attended which sessions of your PHA, what nodes did they attend, where was their input, so you can track who had what input on what element of the PHA. So all of that is included within here. So I can go to team and I can define who attended what sessions. So I can put in another team member here. So we'll put in John. He was an engineer and he worked for iMosaic. So the reason I've defined that is because then I'm going to click attendance and I'm going to say, well, I've attended all 3 nodes, but John only attended the last 2 nodes, and that's on our session today. We're going to have a new session tomorrow. So I'll put down a session for tomorrow. And when I open up that session, well, actually, tomorrow I only attended the last node, but John came to both nodes. Now, when I make a report, all of that's going to be included. So I have a historical record of how this PHA was developed. Then there's all the other side things that will form part of the report. So obviously we've got things like a project description where I can just put notes, executive summary, all of this will be included within the reporting. So once you've got all those things defined, so you've gone through, you've made your template, you've made your custom risk matrix, you've carried out your PHA, you've tracked your attendance, that's when you might want to make a report. So the report making is very easy and can be customized to whatever you want to look at. So in some instances, you might just want a recommendation summary. So you don't want the whole PHA, which will be thousands of lines. You just want what are our recommendations. So if I generate a recommendation summary per node, what I can end up with is just, I've made one a moment ago, is just a very simple recommendation summary. So it's gone through all my nodes, and these are my recommendations. And I can see who I assigned the actions to, and I'll talk about the action tracking in a moment, but this is one of the reports. The other kind of report might be a more in-depth report that you want to do. So you want your whole PHA in a PDF format for logging or sharing with people. So again, if I go to generate, fully customizable reporting. So I can include what nodes I want, what cover pages, team attendance, any appendices or reference documents I've used, all those different things. So if I generate that report, this is the kind of report I end up with. So it's a much bigger report. You can see I've got 9 pages. And within this, I have a project description, table of contents, attendance, and then my complete PHA. So all the different elements within here. So that's the reporting. Some other things I mentioned are the ability to do LOPAs embedded within your PHAs and fault tree analysis. So in terms of LOPAs, within my demo file here, I've already made a LOPA. So my LOPA at the end here is referencing everything else in my PHA. So it's a separate thing here. And this is where the cross-referencing comes in. So you can see I have this particular element of the LOPA is cross-referencing to scenario 1.5.1.1, and I'm carrying out my LOPA here. Now, if I click on this link here, it takes me to that specific cell where I'm carrying it out, and it's cross-referenced it. So I can see this is the particular deviation cause consequence that's happening, and it's cross-referencing that. So for anything, for any particular deviation, cause or consequence, I can say, I want to do a LOPA on this, and it will make it within our LOPA section at the end of our template here. And then our LOPA is exactly the same as our PHA in terms of navigation. So if I need to add a new IPL description, you can see I've just added a new IPL description, and it will be numbered and tracked. Now, another part of LOPAs is obviously looking at your frequencies and your failure rates. So on all of these, I can input my failures and my frequency leaks. But another thing that PSMPro has is it has reference tables. So for my initiating event, maybe I don't know the frequency of my initiating event. I can go within our list of predefined initiating events and I can choose one. So I could say, actually, instead of a hose leak, maybe the initiating event is, let's say, a piping leak. Now, when I change that, it changed my frequency. So that's because it has predefined templates for frequency failure rates, which can be adjusted if you have your own specific needs. If not, we have pre-listed initiating events as part of LOPAs. And then ultimately, what it will calculate based off all the frequencies and failure rates you've defined, it will calculate sort of your different requirements, what your safeguard impact has been, all your failure rates will be calculated within the software. So the other tool that might be useful is fault trees. So let me just make a fault tree. Here we go. So if I wanted to calculate the consequences, the probability of my consequence occurring, what I can do on here is I can embed a fault tree. So let me click on fault tree analysis, and it's going to open up another window where I can carry out a fault tree calculation to calculate my failure rate. So what this has done is it's opened up a separate window where I can carry out a fault tree analysis. So I could say, this is my undeveloped event. My statistic is it will fail at 0.2 times per year. And I can build up a complete fault tree. So I can say, actually, I've got this other one, which is another event. This one fails at 0.001 times per year. Then what I can do is I can compute, and it will solve what my failure rate is. And within this software, there's a lot of different templates for if you have SIL analysis. So if I open up one of our SIL analysis templates, it will load up sort of a template for that specific SIL. So that would enable me to develop a better understanding of what the probability of my consequence actually happening is, and that's embedded within the file. If I make a report, it will be within the report. Now, the final main thing I'll show before I open up for questions is the action tracking. So action tracking, when it comes to PHAs, can be quite sort of overwhelming. You throw out actions, you need to keep track of them. You need to make sure people know they've got this action. You need to know when they've closed out the action, all of this. So if you've got a PHA, which you've been doing for 3 weeks, you're going to have a lot of actions. So within PSMPro, we can connect it to one of our other softwares, which is a cloud software. So it's a website, which I'll mention briefly, called PSE. So I've got PSE open here. Let me just log in. So this is our cloud software. And what we can do is connect PSMPro to this software to manage actions. So PSE is a separate product, which we can offer you a light version of to track the actions. So what I'm going to do within PSMPro on my PHA is I've got my recommendation here. Now I want to assign an action for that. So what I can do is I can create a PSE action item. So within here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say for this particular recommendation here, and I can see it all here, I want to assign that. In this case, I'll assign it to myself. The status of the action is it's currently open. And the due date I'll put as, let's put it as next week. So that's my action. I could assign the rest, but for the moment, let's just give me one. So when I click OK, what it's going to do is it's going to send that to our cloud software. Now, that's not very useful for Will Lomax to know, because he doesn't know that I've just logged that. So very importantly, what the software does is it sends me an email. So I just received this email saying I have been assigned an action item. So Will Lomax has assigned Will Lomax an action item. So I've got this email, and this lets me know I've been assigned the action. Now, if I go on to what you would have, which is PSE, I can see I've got some action items assigned. So I can see the action item I just assigned and one I assigned the other day. So this is where you manage your action items. So if I go on this one, so this is my action item as it lives within the cloud. So what I can do within here is I can document exactly what I've done within the PHA or what I've done to complete my action. And then when I go through it and I click update and submit, it talks. First of all, it will send an email to the person who signed the action item. It will send an email to anyone who's meant to be on the list. And the most important thing it will do is it will close out our action item on here. So this will change from open to closed if I close out the action item on PSE with whatever documents are attached to it. So ultimately, you won't have to be following up on action items. You won't have to be tracking who's doing them. You'll assign them all within here. Everyone who you've assigned them to will get email notifications. And then over time, you will see this will become closed, this will become closed, this will become closed. And then you can ultimately have everything automatically closed for you without you having to sort of keep updated on who's completed what. It will automatically do that.
Is there a list of guide words for deviations available?
We have a template which you'd get, which has our expert view on what the specific guide words should be, what the specific PHA flow should be. You'd get that. But if you want to customize it, you can. So we have a pre-made template that you can customize if you'd like.
Are there templates available for any PHA we might want to do?
Yes. So let's take a look at the template. So this is a pre-populated one. Let's look at the raw template. Here are the different templates I have available to me. So these are our default ones. So I can see I've got a universal, these are my universal types of PHAs. So I can do a facility citing type 1, a generic numbered one, human factors, inherently safer processes. So these are ones we've made, our PHA experts have made that are templates. I could also do a combustible dust hazard analysis. So this is a different kind of PHA. We have HAZOP templates. So I can see I've got a generic template, generic numbered, or an RMP process. We have some what if templates. And then we have our LOPA templates, which you can embed within the PHA. So let's go with a generic numbered template. And if I wanted to customize it, I could go to configure template. But let's just look at the default template. So this is the template I've just opened. So this is one of the few different templates we have included by default within the software. So I can see on this template, we've got deviation, cause, consequences, category, safeguards, and so on and so forth. We also have the pre-populated deviations that are our experts recommend for this PHA. And if you wanted to change the columns, you can. So this is our main default template that is included within the software for PHAs.
Can you generate a report for your IPLs and the associated process safety information?
So you can see I'm on my LOPA here, and I've got my IPL list, and it's a drop-down list where, for example, instead of my IPL being a control system, I could say it's a check valve. Now, this is all a lookup table, so this can be customized. This reference table here of LOPA IPL events. So I've got my different descriptions here and what the associated value for their IPL rate is. So these can be customized. So if you had a particular IPL with a particular rate, you can include it within here, and then it's within your template file. So when you share that with your colleagues, you can reference it back.